Despicable Me 4 is the new entry in the Minions Despicable Me franchise, and it follows Gru and his family as he welcomes a baby into his life, and as he goes into hiding because the villain, Maxine Lamal, played by Will Ferrell, this French guy, wants to turn him and his family into bugs, so they have to go into hiding, and all sorts of chaos ensues when they do. Despicable Me 4 came out July 3rd, one day before a massive summer holiday, and swept the box office like a minion-infested storm. This was a bold and calculated strategy by the producers of Illumination, who made this movie for one reason and one reason only: money. See, Despicable Me 4 is both one of the most forgettable films of the year and somehow also the most significant. It is basically a 90-minute Looney Tune cartoon with no story and plot threads that come out of nowhere, go nowhere, and only exist to fill the time in the film's excuse for a story, which could go on for just a thin 20 minutes, but the earning success of Despicable Me and the Minions franchise exist in a theatrical universe, where people actually go to the theaters to watch these movies. So the film practically goes at lightning fast pace. There's no real conflict, no drama, no sense of true stakes or urgency, because this is a movie meant to entertain families and very young kids. They don't want to see a film if there are a lot of emotional moments. I don't want to be too harsh on this film. I did enjoy parts of it. I said excuse for a story before, but let's be honest, it's just a fun gag type situation. You have Poppy, the girl who knows Gru's identity. It doesn't really play too much into the story, but it's just fun to watch. They're just trying to steal some school pet. It's not really a big stake in the movie, it's just for fun. It's for shits and giggles. There's other stuff in the movie that just kind of comes out of nowhere and goes nowhere. Like that random lady with the Terminator music playing in the background from the hairdressing salon. It just comes out of nowhere and goes nowhere, but it's funny. Look at the title. It's Despicable Me 4. Not Despicable Me the Squeakquel, not Despicable Me Ice Age, or Despicable Me Forever After. No, it's Despicable Me 4 because that's all it is. And maybe that's okay. It's why the movie has a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I can understand that. I myself am divided. I wanted to enjoy this movie, which has really cool colors and great 3D modeling and rendering, and there's this quick plot, no real conflict. It's almost a perfect escape to the movies where you don't really want to deal with the issues of the real world. There's no moral lessons in this film, no real villains with strong motives or arc. The villain's whole motive for world domination in this movie is he was outstaged in a talent show by Gru as a kid. And it's a joke. It's perfectly fine for an escape to the movies, but as a film story, it really is just quite nothing. It's said in 2 minutes and gone, and it informs the whole movie. The first Despicable Me had a plot. It had morals. It had a story of a bad person trying to be a father and discover if he was really good, or if he was this villain he saw himself as. And the sequels had him grow. He got a wife. He met his brother. But at this point, we're beyond the growth of Gru, and we now have the spin-offs for that, like the Minions films, to earn more money. But my point is, the movies have abandoned a strong sense of storytelling for money, which, to be fair, I don't blame them. They know how to draw in an audience, how to get kids to want to see this over and over again. There's lots of plot devices which could be used in a fairly dramatic way, like the Mega Minions, but they just don't. Look at the climax of Toy Story 3, when the toys are about to perish in a massive fire, but they get rescued by the toy aliens controlling the claw, and it's both a callback and a very emotional way to build out a franchise. But look at Despicable Me 4, it isn't interested in doing all of that. Sure, there's lots of callbacks and references to past films, but they aren't really used in a smart way or in a purpose that helps the story move forward. The movie isn't interested in doing that. It's just there to entertain you with bright, flashy imagery and loud, chaotic noises. Just take a look at the Mega Minions. They're introduced about halfway through the movie as a kind of answer to superheroes. They're basically minions that go into a machine and come out with very superpowers, and there's no build up to this. There's just the guy who runs the anti-villain organization who simply appears and says they've created the serum to make super minions, which they kind of did in the second film. But anyway, now the minions are superheroes, not monsters, and they make these Mega Minions, and they're really just used as a gag, as a way to showcase that the minions are now superpowered. And there's nothing inherently wrong with this. You get to see the minions doing what they usually do, only with superpowers, and it's fun. And then they're gone, and there's no real point to them. They come back at the end to help our protagonists out, but it isn't in some dramatic way, like in Toy Story 3. There's no emotional resonance, no feeling of our heroes being saved. It's just the Mega Minions coming in to save the day, and that's it. It's all very quick and done. and just goes to show the difference in storytelling between this film and the Pixar classic that is Toy Story 3, which really has a great structured story. I'm not saying you can't enjoy Despicable Me. I really admire how this is a movie you don't need to invest in emotionally. This is the example of the movie you can put your brain away and just sit back and watch. I usually don't like saying that or hearing that expression, just put your brain away. I think it's very rare that there are movies like that. Even the most idiotically plotted superhero movies need some sort of understanding of its universe or world structure to understand. But with Despicable Me 4, you really don't need to have seen any of the past movies. You could just sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride.